Bear with us while we iron out technical difficulties.
Oh, no, it is not here. Trying to get everything happening all together is tricky.
Here, he's gonna want you to smile, hey?
Smile.
Oh, man.
It got her.
It got
Live.
It didn't go live.
What's happening? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Off to the races. Here we go.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to see comments real quick, but
Comments will be a tough one, yeah.
it'll be tough. They'll be
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah. Well, good evening, folks. How many do we got online? I think we got like 5 or 6 on there right now.
I don't know where you're even seeing that.
Right over here, right here. Number, we got 5 people.
Oh, okay.
Look at that.
Five people interested in passive income on the farm and figuring out what passive income is.
Give it a couple minutes, see if we can get a couple folks lined on there. Don't forget, go down below, say hi in the comments, and when we're done this video, we'll upload the whole video to our YouTube channels. So if you missed anything, or you want to go back and look at the show notes and say, you know, what did he say about that? The whole thing will be there, and you'll be able to go back and rewatch it. I don't know what are we going to take? This will be at least an hour, right?
I'm expecting it should be around there, yeah.
Yeah. So if for whatever reason your phone rings or whatever, you gotta go do a thing, somebody commented, I just missed it there, man, that is tough. We're gonna have up our game here.
We will. Well, I think, yeah, this is going to be a test run, and going forward, we're probably going to have to figure out a way to read the comments on something else a little closer.
Yeah.
But we'll
It's
do what
tough,
we
cause
can.
I think like this whole episode is gonna be the one that changes the world for
It's going to be.
for a few folks, right? So.
It's going to have to do what it does.
Got no
there's-
mic on, no camera on his end.
I thought it was. I got no camera? Who's got no camera? Gee whiz. Someone was put on unpaid leave. That's
Hey, found you.
unfortunate.
Where's the sunglasses stand? That's not tea. Hey, Glenn, how
Just
you
a
doing,
minute.
buddy?
I think my button was.
I got the sunglasses, don't worry.
Well, we're going to have to see. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to. You said someone couldn't hear somebody or
I
what?
thought somebody said their mic wasn't working. Oh, it says your live is saying set to upcoming at 3 a.m.
Well, that's
But you're
unfortunate.
live right now.
Yeah, there seems to be 4 people
You're-
watching
you're-
on this
you're-
one.
You're giving her, so it is what it is. Hopefully, like I said, if anybody's missing it, it's not coming across, you'll be able to go back and look on both channels.
Yeah, I know.
Probably sometime tomorrow morning, it should hit live and we'll be in business. But yeah, before we get going here, I guess, rapid fire question round.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about? What are questions?
Okay, I guess you kind of, you're not your catchphrase, but what you're well known for. You've got these badass shades. What's the story behind that?
Well, I don't like the sun. That's the big thing. But I don't like it being behind a cloud either. I just, I don't know. Prefer to wear them.
Yeah.
Easy on the eyes. I think I probably wore them too much. That is like light sensitive.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
And now
It's like your trademark now.
there's been a few guys comment on why I wear them so much. So now I wear them for that purpose.
Yeah.
Really. So but yeah, they're a hindrance most of the time, I guess, because they're dusty and dirty and foggy, but they got to be on now. It's part of it.
Well, just as a special
Oh,
gift
boy.
for coming and joining me here this evening, I got you a set of real fast ones
boy.
here. So
That is top shelf. Yeah, that'll work.
So a couple years ago, French's Mustard was doing a promotion, and I reached out to them, and they actually sent me a whole bunch of sunglasses and mustard and this towel. Actually, this towel I got on the table, it's a big thing. It says French's ketchup on it. So I
Interesting.
thought that was kind of neat.
So now you got a whole basket of. These were actually the ones that I think these are the same as the green ones that I wear.
Yeah, probably.
So-
Yeah,
Definitely, they're not a high dollar item. So when they get wrecked, they get wrecked.
yeah.
So yeah, no,
There
that's,
you go. And
that's the way
we're
that
not
is.
drinking tea tonight. What do we got in the go here?
We went with the Appleton's rum tonight. It was either that or Scotch, and it doesn't say a year on that. I don't know, maybe it doesn't come in years.
I think it's 12.
Okay.
It's 12 years. Yeah. Oh, on the rum? No, there's probably
Oh,
no years on the rum. It's probably just whatever, ditch water and pineapples.
Whatever they ship up from Jamaica, right?
Yeah,
That's where that one
yeah.
comes from.
Yeah, but you should check this out, folks. I don't know if you can see that. This fella here.
Yeah,
man.
that's the
Custom glasses just for this.
exactly, just for these evenings
So,
where we solve all of the world's financial problems and problems in general.
yeah, a lot of problems in general, yeah.
So
Did you bring a mascot tonight?
a mascot?
Yeah. Like a mascot, like something for good luck?
No,
No,
I didn't.
you didn't, eh?
Like the sheep tank, maybe?
Well, the sheep tank's a thing.
It's,
eh?
I don't know if can anyone see that back there? Yeah, if you got sheep, you
I gotta go get it, cause you guys
should
gotta
have
see
been
this.
watching Kirkfell's videos anyways on the sheep. And things are hard to get, but we did get a bunch. Actually, just loaded 4 to go to Hines Creek there before I
Look
came
at
over
this
here.
thing.
So that'll
So
help you.
much molasses action. This, where do these come from? These adaptables.
Those are from your homeland.
They're from the UK. So I mean, they've got some miles on them. They're not, they got some carbon mileage, but
Tanks are made right here in Barhead, I believe,
Yeah.
in Alberta. Stickers are made right in Limburn.
and what does that hold?
8 gallons.
8 gallons.
8 gallons.
So that's a lot of molasses, right? For us, that's 8 gallons. That's a week, right? That's a week's supply for the 16 ewes behind the shop.
Yeah, they say 3/4 of a pound a day, I guess, per sheep. But not specific to sheep either. We used one for 9 steers when we used ours this summer. I mean, everything will lick away at them.
So what's one of those go for?
Those are $125. They are one of the things that weren't affected by COVID pricing, actually.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
mind you lost the filler because that was $2 or $3.
Yeah, because that's all overhead,
So,
right?
in
Yeah.
order to save on the cost, you lost your filler net.
That's good, because I wasn't using it anyways. So how, like, okay, so a guy like me, I've got a small number of animals, and I've got $125 that I want to use for supplement delivery. How do I make that pay for itself? How do when I come to like think about passive income, and supplement costs for a lot of people is exceptionally high.
That is a big one if you're gonna use it at all. And we found, like just on the selling feed side, there's a huge split between those that use it and those that don't. And the first thing you got to do is figure out what it truly costs you if you were using it prior. So not necessarily the molasses, but if you're using any supplement prior to shifting to molasses, you got to figure out that cost, and you got to know it and then stick with it. To buy a tank, that's something that's it's a physical asset that if you're going to, you have to stick with it, or you should, if you want to turn your operation into a more passive operation. Anything you're going to buy, you really want to do the research on it first, make sure it's going to pay, and then stick to using it, or else you're just going to end up with a stack of stuff in the corner,
Stack of plastic, yeah.
and that's going to eat away at your other passive income projects that you have on the go.
Yeah. So we bought one of those last winter, and I think we had one the winter before, right? So we've got 2 of them here. And from an income offset perspective, since we started delivering that molasses to our ewes, our lamb mortality rate has significantly gone down, right? So if we lose 1 less lamb, that's paid for itself right there. And so that not to pitch this product or not to do anything like that, but just if you're thinking about, okay, well, if I want to get a product and I want to deliver it to my animals, really look at that. What is the animal welfare benefit, as opposed to just, am I going to have plastic stacking up in the corner because it's creating workload for me, right? Chicken water is a really good example of that. If I constantly got to pack chicken water, that gets tiresome, right? But this allows us to deliver a week, 2 week, 3 week, however big your tank is, supply to your animals. And we had the molassified protein blocks that were, $80 for a 4 brick block, and they chewed through that in 2 or 3 days, and the rest of it would get buried in the snow or trampled in shit, and then you've lost, at least 25% of your investment is just disappearing into the dirt, right? So this allows it to stay out of the elements. It still flows at we just had what, -30,
Oh, yeah.
-38 or something here.
That
And
was a test.
it's slow to run, but I mean, it comes out, and we've got one tank over here behind the shop, and it's still going, so no, that's interesting. Well, my mascot this evening is this little trinket right here. It's our ashtray. Robin said he was bringing some cigars, so I got this ashtray from my dad, actually, when he passed away. So I got this in 2017, and it's just a simple copper sheet with a ring on it. But the old boy actually beat this out of a sheet of copper when he would have been 15, 16 years old in school. So
Wow.
little piece of family history. Just thought that was kind of interesting to have with us here this evening, and maybe if the old man's watching, he can give us a little courage more than the rum can offer. Who knows?
Wow, that is impressive.
But yeah, no, not it's not Earl Grey, that's for sure. So
Not tea glasses tonight.
the other thing I brought a couple things actually. I got a tickle trunk down here. Saskatoon Jam, circa, this is what's a good year? It's 2019. I got that for you.
Oh, excellent.
So
Excellent.
that's pre-COVID Saskatoon
Pre-COVID.
Jam.
That's
So
high dollar
that
stuff.
was the good year.
Because I think 2020 was a bust for Saskatoon.
2020 was a complete
It
bust.
was a total bust. I think it
And
did a video on
21,
that.
I don't think anybody was allowed out of the house in 21 to even go pick berries, really.
No.
So
If you didn't have them in your backyard, you didn't get nothing.
there you go.
So
And the last thing I got, this is what would you even I don't know what you would call this. This is vitamin water. It's a peach liqueur, not liqueur, but it's a peach liquor that I get from a guy who runs a very exclusive private distillery, and it's by invitation only. So
that's top shelf too.
well, maybe we'll have a little taster of it later here, but that's
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Absolutely. Like the blueberry stuff.
yeah,
Dump
there's
her in the-
blueberry, there's peach, there's
Dump her in the chainsaw too.
I got some apples too. Yeah, no, it's definitely you can run it in your skidoo, I'm sure. Yeah, how many folks we got online here right now? Let's have a look.
Enough to get with it.
I got a couple handfuls. We probably got like 2,000 or 3,000.
No, I
right
got
now.
I got 13. I got 13.
There you
So
go.
we only got
So we got a handful. Okay,
we got enough to start for sure.
perfect.
I know there were some people interested in what was going to happen tonight. I guess
Yeah.
it's a total chalk that up to a total lack of anything else to watch on TV.
Well, I know there was a webinar. I think that who was doing it? Peace Country Beef and Forage Association was running a webinar this evening as well.
Oh yeah.
So, but that's the beauty of this live, is that we can keep it on YouTube and anybody can come back and watch it
Yeah.
there. So, but yeah, so passive income. This is one where Robin had reached out to me a few weeks back and said, "Hey, can we do a live?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really know if we can." And he's like, "Oh, I think we can." And so looked into it a little bit, and sure enough, we've got the numbers to be able to do it. And then it was a matter of can we get Wi-Fi into
Yeah.
places? So
Can we the technology handle it all on the farm?
technology prevailed, I guess, and yeah, welcome to the shop. So managed to get Wi-Fi out to the shop, and hopefully it holds up. But then it's like, okay, well, if we can do this, then what do we want to really talk about, and what's eating our lunch and stuff. And I had watched a video a few years back, maybe a few months, I don't know. Every time I say like the other day, it could be any time between yesterday and 15 years ago.
In that
But
blur of the past.
do you know who, Gary Vaynerchuk? Do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gary V. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I don't like any of those guys. I don't like.
I
any of
don't
them.
like him that much either. I think he's got he says an awful lot for a guy that's got nothing to say, and yet in some fluid motion, he still manages to do it in a motivational way, right?
Absolutely, and I guess if it's uplifting to those who need it, that's one thing. But that whole snake oil, smoke and mirrors thing, it to me it falls on deaf ears.
It does.
It's
it
a
does.
lot. It's a lot of exceptions is what it is. You're the exception if this works for you.
That's right. And so, but he was speaking at a live event, and it's a Q&A session, and the gentleman asked. He said, what? Tell me about passive income. And Gary says, well, what do you mean passive income? Like, what does that even mean to you? And you could tell this guy was from somewhere like way far north, like Scandinavia north, right? Like real thick Viking accent, and he said, I want to lay on a beach in Mexico, and I don't particularly want to work in a cold office in Sweden. And then Gary goes off on this whole thing, and I was like, there's a real light bulb moment for me. Like, okay, well, this is a real society issue. Like nowadays, people they want to have passive income. They want to have work-life balance more so, I think, is the bigger thing that they want.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's definitely a desire there to have something working in the background while you can be like, because we can't multitask, right? So the ability to have, whether it's technology or some other process working in the background to generate revenue for us while we, I guess, live some leisure time, right, is what people want. So I went and actually, did some quick, I call it research, but I went on the internet. So
absolutely.
that's what everybody does, right? So, and when I say everybody does that, I mean, I went to Google and I got this from what I determined to be at least reputable sources. Because, I mean, in reality, when we're all done here, that's what people are going to judge us against, right? They're going to go to Google and say,
Oh, for sure.
Fact Checkers Anonymous, right? So at least we'll be talking the same language, right? So Canadian Taxpayers Federation, you're probably familiar with them, right? So,
well, I try not to be, but
I know
who they are.
Nobody wants to be a Canadian taxpayer, but so they have, on their website, they actually have like a ticker, like a clock that shows Canada's national debt, like consistently on our meter, right? So last night at like, it was like 10 o'clock at night or whatever, what's Canada's national debt? What do you think that is?
Oh, I don't know, I thought it was 2-3 trillion, must be.
According to their website, it's $1,200 billion.
Oh,
Right.
We're in good shape then.
So that's government debt. That's not national debt. That's government debt.
I thought last year they talked
Right.
trillion, but maybe I
Well,
don't follow much.
We'll get to the trillions, right? So don't worry. So I mean, to me, that's concerning, right? So I get up in the morning, 5:15, 5:30, do the old Dolly Parton yawn and stretch and whatever the rest of the 9 to 5 song is, right? Scratch my nuts and away we go with the day. And before I've even had a cup of coffee, as with every other Canadian, I owe $31,500. I'm on the hook for. It doesn't matter, man, woman, child, newborn baby, $31,500 that the government has screwed me out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a concern, right? The average Canadian right now has $21,000 in credit card debt. That's a lot. Like, what is, it's sitting at 21% interest, right?
I know, that's bizarre.
That's wild, right? So then, okay, well the government's screwing up. That's a whole thing. Like, I get the government screwing up, whatever. I don't like it. We'll wait 5 years. Is it 4 years till an election? Maybe 2 years if we, decide to screw it up even more. But I don't want to bring politics into it. But there's this $21,000 that's just sitting out there that's like, shit, that's my fault, right? Or not me specifically, but the consumer, right? So that's an issue. So then the Canadian Real Estate Association, they monitor average housing prices in the country. And in September of last year, they were saying that the average house price was, what was it, $686,000 something.
And I know it was absurd.
And that's actually, that went down because like in the summer of 2021, it was $716,000 was the average house price in Canada, right? Now, there's going to be places like Toronto, Vancouver, they're probably going to drive that up. But I mean, even if we look, the average house price in Alberta is $405,000 or something like that, right? We built our house in 2018 and it was $426 or something like that, right? Like that's scary. That's scary to think, okay, well, I got a $400,000 mortgage or maybe more, plus $21,000 in credit card debt. So now we're starting to see why, okay, well, income is something that's real, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much overtime I can work. Is there some way, shape, or form that I can get something to work behind the scenes for me? Because I'm drowning in debt. Not me personally necessarily, but I'm just speaking to the broader community, right? So, what's the ability to pay that stuff back? Well, the average wage in Alberta is like $68,000 a year, right? So that's 6 times less than the cost of a house.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck me, hey?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And it's even if you're, you know, if you're from, unless you look, it's an anomaly you don't even realize, because the piece itself is a thriving anomaly generally, per se. The median income is higher. You're afforded, I guess, more income to do more stuff, but it's a far cry from what you need, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
it is.
yeah.
Like you say, when you start out the morning behind 20-30,000 already, that's out of your control.
Yeah, I mean, the what do you call that? The Golden Brick Road, the streets are like, that was always, growing up, there was always that story about London, how the streets are paved with gold, and to me, that's what Northern Alberta is to the rest of Canada, is the streets are paved with gold, and then when you get there, I don't know if you've ever been to London, but
Never crossed the big old blue puddle.
no offense to anybody from London, but I mean, it's filthy, it's a shithole. And if you were to try and go down a back alley in Grand Prairie right now, you'd probably be of a similar flavor.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't appreciate where we live. I mean, there's a lot of good things too, but it comes at a cost, right? So, but yeah, so average house price $400,000, average wage is $68,000. That puts mortgage payments approximately $1,450 a month. Then vehicle payments, the national average for vehicle payments is $500 a month, right? And that's everything from a Kia Huando or whatever. I don't know what Kias make, but your very entry level car to a crew cab Dodge Dually that you're probably not going to be able to keep out of the shop. That's going to cost you $100,000 at least to get off the lot, right? So typically in our region, we're not gonna see too many of the Hondas, the Kias, the Hyundais. They're there, but they're not the dominant brand, right?
You don't see them out tonight, for sure.
You're not. There's no Teslas out here. Well, there's a couple.
I saw a red one. Yeah, I don't know how
there is a couple floating around.
I don't know how he's
think
got
they
better
just-
batteries than Apple, then, I can tell you, because that
Well,
phone
that's
don't
for sure.
last very long.
Yeah, I can't take my phone out for more than 20 minutes in a day like today. So, but okay, so average vehicle payment is $500 a month. Well, let's keep that number in your pocket for later. But you can guarantee that on average vehicle payment in the greater Grand Prairie area is probably closer to $1,000, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Right. Like I remember my first brand new truck I bought would have been a 2001 Dodge half ton. I think it was $49,000 at the time, and I'm sure my payment then was $850.
Yeah.
So to buy that truck now, that's every bit of a $85,000 pickup, right? So
Oh, yeah.
you can only imagine what, and the payments haven't, like, they didn't really go up with the payments, but, we used to be able to buy that truck, what was it? It was, 48 months or 60 months, those were your options. Now you can buy a truck.
I thought I seen 3 digits on one. I thought it was like 116 months. Just why not?
Yeah.
Just like a house. Just
Yeah.
let the kids pay for it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like second generation mortgages on your vehicle.
It was shocking. Well, I don't know why it pops up, but they're over $100,000 all day long up here.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even get you a dually. I mean, it gets you maybe a higher end pickup, but if you're in the market for a truck, I'm sorry, you are.
You're gonna
You need a big check.
Yeah,
So.
you'll need to be a battery operator or something to get.
Absolutely, one of those guys. So
Oh, that's good, yeah. So anyways, yeah, so how all these numbers crunch down, when you think about all the money that we're spending, as consumers that we're spending, the overall Canadian consumer debt is $2.2 trillion.
oh yeah, okay, that's a lot too.
$2.2 trillion. Like I can't, I don't know how many zeros that is, but I'm just gonna keep writing zero until I run out of paper, and I assume that I'm somewhere on the next page, right? You know what Canada's GDP is, or gross domestic?
I wouldn't have an idea.
1.8 trillion. So we have more out there on the hook in debt than we have the capacity to make back.
Wow.
And we went and lay on a beach somewhere. We'll get there. We'll get there, right? So I'm not going to sell you anything. Robin's not going to sell you anything. I'm not selling a book, but in here we have what you would call the secrets of success, is how you can get there. You can get to the beach in Mexico. You can have that. There are ways to gain passive income where things are working in the background in your favor to, offset income or to gain income that previously you wouldn't have had. We're going to give a couple of examples here tonight, but keep in mind, off the top of my head, I can think of like 4, 5, 6 that, immediately would be beneficial to us here on our farm. But the reality is there's probably hundreds of different options out there, depending on what works for you. So we're going to focus a little bit on what some of those options are, some pitfalls to avoid, and what's a little bit of, just, what would you call it?
As far as
BS? I don't want to call it BS, but,
they're
they're selling a dream that's just...
There is a lot, I would say, is just absolute bullshit. It's a fake reality based on so many underlying factors that individual had going for them already. Like you and I were talking earlier, just like how passive is passive income. I mean, some money is actually, I guess, free to a point, and other forms of passive income do require a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it in itself is just, what someone might think of as, oh, this is easy money. The next guy might, it might be totally out of his reality. Like he cannot do that. So, yeah, you end up with just a lot of stuff that is BS, right? It's very specific.
With passive income, the equation's not the same as like wage income. Wage income is a very easy equation. It's A equals B, right? Time equals money. Mm-hmm. With passive income, it's effort times time equals money, right?
Absolutely.
So the effort for me versus the effort for somebody else that maybe has a different skill set or a different passion, and we'll talk a little bit about passion later, they could play out a little bit differently, right? So, but anyways, so the car payment. So I don't have a car payment. I haven't had a car payment since...
I do.
You do? I haven't had a car payment since, I think, 2017. We bought our truck and we said, okay, it's paid off now. $1,000 truck payment. How many parts can I put into a truck for $1,000 a month?
Well, in fact, yeah, I shouldn't say we have a car payment. We leased this last one. First time we ever leased something. And it actually came down to when we weighed it out, financing to leasing, pros and cons in both, but it's a depreciable asset. And let's be honest, the cars they make today are total pieces of shit.
They are.
So why would you want to own it?
Why would you?
I mean, you may as well just rent it.
Yeah.
So we have the truck that's owned through the farm, and then the car that's owned personally. So the truck is owned outright, but as far as the car goes, I mean, I just as soon go to National and just rent one.
Yeah.
Or just go to Ford and lease it.
Yeah.
I don't want to own it. I don't want to have to fix it every 2 years. They can take it back. That's not the way I would have liked to see things go, because I consider that just totally wasteful. What are we going to do in 2 years when everybody takes their lease back?
Yeah.
We just pile that shit in the ocean?
Well, pretty
Or
much,
whatever
yeah.
we do with it, right?
Yeah.
But that's the way that society's been driven now, is new, consume, and unfortunately, it's too big to get out of. So, I mean, we made that choice with this last one that we would just. So the first one we ever leased, and we're going to see how that goes. And that was the reason. Why own it?
Yeah.
I don't want to own it. There's some benefits that come with leasing that are specific to the dealership, oil changes, and some of those things. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But
So previous to that, like we bought that pickup new, that Ford out there. And only because we got a smoking fleet deal on it, and I'd say we stuck it to the dealer, and they weren't really happy when we left, and that's a first for everybody. But previous to that, I'd owned 2 or 3, 4 used vehicles that that were lease returns or whatever. They got 6 months or a year on them, and they come back really low kilometers. and all that depreciation that some poor sucker had to pay and eat for breakfast is gone and knocked out of it. And sure, you have to pay a few a few shekels to the middleman, the car dealer. He's
Yeah.
going to take a couple grand or whatever just to grease his pocket. But ultimately, that was a much better option for us when it comes to, shortening your vehicle payment by, 2-3 years in some cases, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Or knocking off $300 a month on your vehicle payment, right? So if you think about, okay, well, if I don't have a vehicle payment and I'm able to put money aside with that, and okay, well, if I'm just putting a checking account, it's probably, I might as well keep it in my mattress, right? Because
Absolutely.
service fees and everything the bank's gonna charge me, that money's, it's just paper, like it's not gonna go anywhere, right? But now if I can take $500 a month and put it in a decent, growth stock mutual fund from the time I'm 20, right, to the time I'm 60, so the majority of my working years, I can have sit in the bank for me when, 5 years before I retire, $7 million. You can imagine retiring early at 60 with $7 million, like, there's a lot of beach time you can have.
Oh,
for $7
absolutely,
million
yeah,
bucks,
well,
right?
that's
You
it,
can
you
have,
can do what you want.
have
for
a
sure.
guy bring you, coffee and Baileys in the morning and margaritas in the afternoon, and the only problem you gotta have is, when's the suntan lotion kind of run out kind of thing, right? Or buy a great big giant Winnebago and,
Yeah, if you can drive her.
right? The big blue blocker shades, and I
Yeah.
can't see where I'm going, but we're having a good time getting there kind of thing, right? So I think and this isn't something that I've done. What I did is I went and worked on the rigs, and I pissed away 3, maybe 4 oil booms, and
Old Tim Huss said, give me
you
one
know,
more before I die.
and here I am at 40 and thinking, okay, well, I got 20 years to make it. God, please let me have one more oil boom. I promise I won't piss it all away. But anyways, that's one. I thought that was an interesting number. If a guy actually put away just $500 a month, if you had that maybe you didn't spend on stupid shit. Let's be honest.
Those
right?
numbers are incredible, and it is amazing at how small it is. Like, I don't even know where I got this. I'm sure someone told me once. He said, every dollar you spend, just think of it as 2, right? So, because every dollar going out is a dollar not going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. And when you're standing there looking at stupid shit on the shelf, it's a lot easier to walk away from it. When it's $24 and you look and you say, well, that's going to be $48. It's just not worth it. And it just changes your mindset right away. Like those are real things that I think are important. To get this consumer idea that it's only so much money, right? I mean, when you start to allocate money properly, that's when you're gonna find out that passive income streams actually work. But
Yeah.
they need to be fed financially off the start. I don't believe there's anything free.
Yeah, no, they need initial
Like-
investment, they need maintenance, and yeah, you gotta feed them, right? It's no different than your goat. If you just have a goat and you think it's gonna have, what do they call them?
Kids, yeah.
Are they just gonna have kids magically because it's just sitting out in your yard? You don't feed the damn thing?
Just an ATM machine.
In 14 days, you're just gonna come and have a goat with four hooves sticking up in the air, and you've just burned. I don't even know what a goat costs. I mean, everybody that watches knows that I'm not a goat guy. But
No, I don't
they're
know
out there,
either.
but
I think people are putting them away right
heard-
now, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Wow, just to feed them.
I heard the price was really good, but yeah.
Oh, maybe.
No, but
Meat goats.
I bet they wish they'd been buying hay 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. But anyways, yeah. So I mean, that's just the numbers. That's where we're at as a country. There's a hot tip there about how we could set away some stuff, but when it comes to actually generating passive income, is there a set of rules that a person should follow? And I know some folks that they want to have passive income. That's the whole principle of it, is they can break out of the rules of society, or the rules of traditional banking, the rules of basic finance. And maybe some of those folks are rolling their eyes a little bit now, but the reality is, no matter what you do monetary wise, whether it's, you know, working for wages and putting it in a savings account, or just putting it in your checking account and trying to buy bread at the end of every week, or you're investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum or one of these other things, there's rules attached to it, right? And so I sat down and okay, what are the five cardinal rules for passive income? So if you want, it's not just having, you know, a desire to have passive income, but what's actually going to get me to the beach? What's actually going to put suntan lotion in my hand, and I can just live the dream and drink margaritas, right? So I guess in order to get there, we need to understand what passive income is, right? And so, as you mentioned, for what passive income is to one person is maybe not what it is to somebody else, right? But
it seems to be a fairly broad term, right? And in its simplest form, it essentially is it's money for nothing. You know, it's you can be sitting back. Like a lot of very wealthy people, if you ever, you know, get the misfortune of watching them try to explain this to you on TikTok or YouTube, you're not rich unless you've made money before you wake up. That would be, to me, true passive income.
yeah,
And unfortunately, you know, without a tremendous amount of money up front, I don't know what would generate that for you.
and that's the side you don't see, right? You see the guy in the Armani suit, you see it on the catwalk or the red carpet, and there's flash photography going off everywhere. You see him getting out of a jet, and that's what they see the end result, but they don't see the gut-wrenching amount of work that went into getting there, right? Like, they look at Jeff Bezos right now, and some people think he's just the biggest asshole in the world, but, you know, if you were to look at him circa 1996, 1997, running out of his garage, you know, trying to, you know, driving what was he, just like a shitbox little Honda.
Yeah, those guys go fairly frugal. At least they say they did. I mean, I guess I didn't know them, so
yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that's true or not.
All you can do is kind of watch and make a decision from there about what type of people you really think they are. But, you know, what we see is the end result, and we think, yeah, I want to be that guy. Well, and then the advent of social media now has just bastardized what hard work means to everybody. So right now, if I went into Grand Prairie or Edmonton or, well, any airport in the world, pretty much, I could rent a private jet for 45 minutes, and I could probably go on Facebook and I could find some local models, and I could do this whole photo shoot thing, and I can rent jewelry and clothing and all this, and I can look like I'm the man, right? I'm living it. I'm kicking it like the Island Boys, or what, I don't know, whatever, right? And I'm gonna fork out $1,000 or $1,200 or something like that for my 45 minutes, so I get a picture on Instagram, and, you know, the world likes my shallow self being. Well, I just pissed away $1,200, and at the end of the day, I'm still, I'm not rich, right?
Still feeding sheep,
right? Nobody's actually paying me to do this, right? And so I just look the part, and to me that's disturbing, right? There's so many actors out there that are selling this dream, and it's not that the dream is unachievable, but you know, maybe sell how you got there.
Yeah, that's
right?
that's a good point.
If you to me, there's this old adage, it's like, okay, well, if you're not working to make the world a better place, then what are you even doing here, right? And so selling people on this theory that they can get to somewhere without doing anything is a disservice to everybody that's ever had to do anything to get
Yeah,
there,
it
right?
really is.
Right? So, I mean, the actual dictionary definition of passive income is earnings derived from rental property, limited partnerships, or some other enterprise. And some other enterprise is really it's a vagary, right? Like, it's not an open term at all. That doesn't require active involvement. So, okay, so you're either, I mean, you're maybe you are a commercial rental guy, maybe you're a slumlord, maybe you're a silent partner in some stuff, or you've got, you know, whatever automated thing happened in the background. You found some stuff on Amazon that you can get affiliate links or whatever that's just working for you 24 hours a day, and you can sit home and watch Desperate Housewives kind of thing. Like, which, by the way, if you're watching Desperate Housewives or Lost or Survivor, shut that shit off and go do some work for yourself, because that stuff, honestly, Netflix subscriptions is the largest killer of productivity, and that's my own personal opinion. And we have Netflix. I'm not going to be a complete hypocrite and make like I don't have it, but the amount of time that the average user spends on brain melting entertainment that doesn't add value to their life.
It's amazing. I mean, we got it too, right? I mean,
It's scary,
anybody with kids, I mean, it's kind of a necessity, especially if you got kids on the farm, you know, because it's kind of unfair to bring them out with you all the time. So you need that stuff, but yeah, you got to be able to turn it off. Yeah, like I seen a funny thing. It was, what the hell did it say? If Netflix was a person talking to another person, maybe you saw this. He said, "Would you watch a 10-hour movie?" And the guy said, "No, are you fucking crazy?" He said, "Well, what if we break it up in 1-hour segments and then you just binge watch it the whole day?"
Yeah.
But people will do that, and
People will do that.
and you think like, dude, don't you have anything to do outside?
If you remember, what would it have been, February, March of 2020-ish, thereabouts, Tiger King comes out.
I didn't ever watch any
You
of
never
that.
watched it?
Never. Didn't even understand what it was about.
So, I mean, I'll admit, I watched it, and I thought, okay, well, because, you know, the world, we were in lockdown, right? So, what else are you going to do with your time, right? I can't even go to town and get parts, so.
I had grain to grind, thankfully. Thank Christ I had a recession,
You had real things to do, right?
I had a COVID-proof job.
So I'm watching this, and it's, you know, okay, I watch it over 2-3 weeks, something like that, as time allows, normal spare time allows. And then I see on social media, like, folks have like literally binge watched this whole entire series in 17 hours. Like, and it's just like eating cheesies in their underwear and just greasy and gross, and just like, and they wake up and they're like, oh, what, like, oh, the sun is up, like, what's going on, right? But the more and more that's what's happening, and that's what a lot of Netflix does, and YouTube. God bless YouTube, because I mean, we're on YouTube right now, but that is the entire purpose of these platforms, is basically to hook you and then keep you, and the longer you stay on it, the more benefit it is to them, right? So, but if you're using YouTube for educational purposes, which hopefully is what we're doing here tonight, that's an entirely different avenue as opposed to just letting your brain melt into Squid Game or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, that's a good point. If you can, you know,
Yeah.
if you can use this stuff properly and for a benefit, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That's why we're still not beating rocks together trying to start a fire in a cave somewhere. So.
Yeah, and that's interesting, you know, in the last, what's it been, 100 years, the technological advancements in the last 100 years, you know, what have essentially brought us out of the dark ages to the point where we are today. If we just had a communication loss, a global communication loss tomorrow, or some type of electronics failure, we'd be screwed. I guess humanity, we'd be back like banging clubs off trees and hitting rocks together, because the technology that we have that isn't reliant on energy in some way, shape, or form, right? Like this. Okay, well, I got a lighter. Okay, that's fantastic technology. That's gonna last me 30 days of lighting campfires. When this thing runs out, I can't make one of these, right? So I better get damn good at rubbing sticks together.
or figure out what two rocks make sparks.
Or figure out some old school survival skills to kind of come back. But that's maybe a conversation for another episode, right? So. Are you refreshing here?
I'm gonna refresh before we get into rules.
Okay. I better get some ice. So
Maybe you can have a cigar while we start the next process.
This is everything it looks like. This is an 18-pack.
This is really high class, actually.
Clear 18-pack of eggs.
Straight up salmonella.
I washed it out.
You know,
I give it a good rinse, but
this is total class.
so science lesson for the folks at home. I filled this with water because I wanted some big ice, right? I didn't want this nonsensical ice that really, you know, melts in 2 seconds and doesn't do anything. So I filled this thing up, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's not sealed. I'm gonna make a giant mess in my deep freeze. I can't put this in there. But I mean, the world is my deep freeze, right? Let's be honest. It's 30 below outside. I can just put this thing outside. So I go outside the shop. This skidoo's sitting there, and it's got this much snow on it. So I said, okay, yeah, let's just put this on the back of the Skidoo, and I'll come in tomorrow morning when everything's froze, and we'll be good to go, right? So I come out 5:45 this morning, and I grab this plastic thing, and I come in, and I blew the snow off top of it, and I'm like, it's not froze. It's 30 below, and it's not froze. So it's here sitting buried in the snow, insulated. Of course, the stuff around the outside froze, right? But
I did that with actually one of our
In the
horse
middle,
waters that was above ground. I just piled
just
10
inside.
feet of snow on it, and hopefully it would thaw out. It didn't, but
It didn't.
anyways, that's be a YouTube video here down the road.
Mad science for you.
I thought it would work.
I ended up just putting it on the hood of the wife's car and just leaving it. Whatever happens here happens, but. So are these good or what?
I don't know, that's like number 2 in probably 50,
Number two.
probably, I guess I didn't say 15 years, but 5 years. And
You didn't buy these 15 years ago?
No, I bought these the other day.
Oh,
But I
okay.
mean, as far as I've smoked them, aside
So
the one,
like a 15-year-old cigar that's been sitting in the window of your house. It's just
the guy at the tobacco store said this was the best one
Yeah.
for these little small ones, because I don't think we could do the big one. That'll be a February episode.
the Cohibas, is that what that is?
I
or-
don't know. They're in that box. Do we still got people staying with us? Yeah, we got a few for sure. Everyone's excited to get to these rules. There's like,
There you
shut
go.
up, you
Yeah,
two.
like-
How do you make some money?
Stop bullshitting about the Island Boys and let's get at it. Okay, so yeah, passive income. So first rule of passive income. First rule of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. Well, this isn't Fight Club. This is how we're gonna get on the beach. In Mexico, where it's not 35 below outside and I don't have to feed chickens, and my sheep aren't trying to break the goddamn fence down, right? First rule of passive income is that it's not primary income. Bad news, sad news bears, folks. If you don't have a full-time job right now that is paying your mortgage or your rent and putting groceries in your fridge and in your tummy and your heater is on, this is not the conversation for you. It doesn't mean you stop watching right now. Keep this one in your pocket for the point in time when you do this, but what you got to be conscientious of is any high reward, low effort initiative can just go and disappear into fairy dust overnight, right? It's a gamble. And so what you need to do with passive income, like I said initially, you've got to have upfront investment, right? So if you can't afford to pay your rent, or you can't afford to make a car payment, or groceries are real tight this month, don't be sinking money into magic beans, right? That's stupid fairy tale crap. Don't do it. But before diving in, you need to have all your bills paid. Passive income in and of itself should be paying for things like leisure, should be assisting you with increased quality of life, not quantity of life, right? It shouldn't be the stuff that provides you with the necessities. It's funny money, essentially, right? It's what grants you the ability to do extracurricular activities, right? Second rule of passive income. It's the second rule, but it could arguably be the first rule.
I was gonna say, to me, it's one of the most important, right? I mean, because it's not just a passive income rule, is it? I'm hoping everybody that's watching this is doing this anyways, because I think the community we have should be.
The community that we have that we're probably speaking to, I would say we're probably preaching to the choir,
Absolutely.
right?
I would hope so.
But if I look at me 20 years ago, I'm the same person, but 20 years ago, I was doing some stupid stuff, right? I'll share a secret with you folks. Up until very recently, I'd never bought a windshield for a truck. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
What would I have been? 2001. So I would have been 20 years old. I buy my first brand new pickup. And I just drive that pickup until I can't see out of the windshield anymore. Which in some cases is 2 years, some cases is 3 years. And when the windshield is just annihilated, it looks like Charlotte's Web. I'm just going to the dealership. I'm just like, fuck it, give me a new truck, right? Roll the payments over. That's just, I owe 10 grand left on this thing. Yeah, just tack it on the next one, right? And before you know it, you got $100,000 pickup, which I mean, nowadays is like, that's normal,
That's where we
but-
start.
But 10 years ago, that's not cool, right? 15 years ago, that's not cool, right? So, very similarly, I've never bought a watch battery, right? I've got probably, in the house right now, probably got 10 watches, right? But over the course of my life, I must have bought 50 or 60 watches. Battery goes dead, oh, go buy a new watch, right? Like an idiot, I could buy a new watch battery for like $3, right?
Yeah.
So stupid stuff like that, right? Making stupid decisions. And I remember having a conversation with my old man. This is like circa 2007. So, I mean, it's not forever ago, but at a point in my life where I was old enough to know better, but still way too stupid to do anything about it, right? My old man was saying like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you can afford to do this? Like make truck payments and mortgage payments and all. Oh yeah, no, because it's all about the monthly income, right? And I see people now and I think back to that story and I think about, oh yeah, you know what, I have monthly income. And I was living pretty highly on the monthly income. But then 2008 hit and every rig in North America pretty much just the brake handle went down and they were done, right?
Yeah.
So that was, and there I sit with, you know, I think 2 truck payments, a couple house payments, you know, it was bad news. It was tough times, right? And so it was like, oh, okay, like, I think I'm growing up now. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I know that humbled a lot of
you
people
know,
for sure.
right? So
So you think, you know, I mean, we've been flying so high for so long that.
getting leaves in my mouth here, but yeah. So the second rule of passive income is check your waste streams, right? So if you're hemorrhaging cash somewhere, you need to sew that up, right? And we see this even in our everyday life. Even it could be a simple thing like just leaving the lights on in your house when you go to town. You know, especially energy costs right now. What's your natural gas bill this month? $900?
Well, yeah. Well, unfortunately for us, since we moved out of town, it's a lot. Like it's because I mean our shop isn't modern with the so it's a lot. But yeah, it's got to be 500-600, especially when it's cold like this. It's a lot. It's an awful lot.
Yeah, so and then going from $300 where it was previously a couple years ago to what it is now, government taxation rates, we have no control over that.
No.
Right? But I do have control over the things that I make a choice, a conscientious or unconscious choice, to exit my wallet every single day. If I can do something to do that or to sew that up, I should.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I shouldn't be trying to make more money while I've literally got money falling out of my other, I'm trying to stuff money in this pocket and it's falling out of this pocket. Like that's just ludicrous, right? So it just makes a lot of waste, right?
Absolutely.
And
people have to learn to walk down the aisle without reaching out into it to get some stuff. Like you can go to town and come back without a car full. It is possible.
So that's an interesting concept. So is it okay to buy a lifetime supply of something, do you think?
No, I don't think that's you get into the whole thing where you're going to store it, right? So you start building for that too. But people should shop consciously. I know when I started, when I got big, and we actually don't produce a lot of food. We make animal feed.
Yeah.
But when I got really passionate the last couple of years about getting people involved in shopping local. And one of the highlights to shopping local is you can in fact buy a year's supply of meat.
Yeah.
And just doing that, and not a lot of people, I haven't gained the traction that I thought this would, and I don't even understand why. I think it's a total lack of knowledge from the urban population. I really do.
100% it is. Yeah.
But lots of people have said wow, now that my freezer's full, right, I don't go to town near as much.
Yeah.
Right there. If you're because I know myself, when you go to town, yeah, you end up here, you end up there, and that looks good, and that's on sale, and whatever. It's a drug. It is. You try, and if we can get out of town, and that's why, when you said earlier the passive income, and it's a broad term. Just even staying out of town, you start to generate passive income. Really,
For sure,
you're keeping your own money. You don't even realize it, but by having the necessities, of life, you know, the food, the water, the stuff, a decent supply of it, you know, the water comes from a tap. If you got a deep freezer full of meat, you know, you go from going to town once a week to going to town once a month. If you were spending $200 every time you went to town, there you go, you just saved yourself $600.
It's a lot easier to live when you're not bleeding out, right? So we got, like, we're, like, my wife's what, 7.5 months pregnant here right now, or really close to. And, you know, diapers come on sale, and I know we're gonna need diapers now for the next 3 years in some way, shape, or form, you know, for diapers or through to pull-ups and things like that. We're gonna need baby wipes, right? So the price today, they're never gonna be cheaper
That's true.
ever again than they are today, right now, right? So that's something that, okay, well, can I buy a 4-year supply of that stuff? Yeah, that's like 5 or 6 cases of it, and they can sit in my basement, and that's fine, right? You know, there was toilet paper hoarding that happened last year. People buying 17, 18 cases. I mean, we're talking actual lifetime supply of it. Totally intangible, right? Because that's a product that's, you know, maybe there's going to be some dips or whatever, and there'll be some short supplies here and there. The price is going to fluctuate, but largely that's going to be an affordable consumer product, right? Because the people that make that stuff also have to use it, so they're never going to price it outside of affordability. Right?
Absolutely.
You know, but like you mentioned, okay, well, if I can buy a year's worth of groceries from a local producer, you know, if I go to the supermarket and I buy that same amount of meat over the course of the year. I've got all those trips to town, but I mean, what's the price of meat doing right now in the store? Going up. So you go ask the meat counter and say, what's happening here? Like why are you pillaging people? And the guy that's cutting it and wrapping it in cellophane in a styrofoam tray and putting it on the shelf, he's gonna tell you, like, no, like it's not here. It's the middleman, right? And that's honestly, as a society, that's a place that we're bleeding out. Is we've created a system of middlemen, right? We have so much reliance on other people doing shit for us. That's scary, right? So if you can come to a local producer, pick out your animal, they can take it to another local butcher. It doesn't require a large scale packing plant. You know, yeah, there's still a guy in the middle, but that guy in the middle is what would it cost to butcher a steer through Derek?
So yeah, it's about $1 a pound all in. So you're looking at it's like $600-700,
As opposed to going to the grocery store and buying that same steer for
oh Christ,
$4,500.
Well, I did the comparison on a whole animal, and then we like the ones that we chose for ourselves were smaller carcass weight, but it was $800 savings.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that gives you from your premium cuts down to your lowest cuts. But
right. So I mean that's just one example. You know, is your consumer items, your day-to-day consumer items, how you can minimize that stuff. I mean, I remember before my grandparents, I grew up in the UK, and the UK is a very they live for tomorrow, right? They haven't ever crawled out of post Second World War where they had ration cards and you just couldn't get anything, and so, you know, everybody's living, I shouldn't say everybody, but a large percentage of the population is living in government subsidized housing, you know, very small homes, terrace housing. They have a corner store on every street, and you have a fridge that's about the size of this cup, and you can fit your day's worth of groceries in there, and that's it, right? To coming here and looking at my grandparents, I mean, they had their basement. Their basement was, you know, quarter of it's a cold room, and they got 2 freezers that would fill up half of the shop. Yeah. Right. And I mean, there's canned goods that have been in there for probably 30, 40 years, but I mean, it's a different culture, right? And so why we are at now with modern society where we've chosen to adopt that convenience, shopping by convenience as opposed to shopping for preparation is beyond me. Like, even something as simple as, you know, 72 hours. Well, if I lose power for 72 hours, am I going to be able to weather that storm? Probably not, right? So a little upfront investment can get me to a better place. No. Yeah. Anyways, that's a bit of a tangent away from passive income. But third rule, passive income is really, really quick. Is understand the tax implications of your passive income streams. So if I've got a rental property, I'm going to be taxed different than if I've got a home-based business, right? I'm going to be taxed differently than if I'm making investments on the stock market, right? And you said some pretty cool stuff earlier about what you can do on the stock market. I'm not a stock market guy. Like I got some stuff in stock that's just sitting there and it's fairly static, and I'm comfortable with that, knowing that in 10 years or 20 years, I'm going to get paid some dividends along the way, but largely my stock's not going to do this, right? Because I'm not a gambler, right? I'm a calculated risk taker. But like, what's your experience with that?
So yeah, when like, well, I definitely credit most of this to my dad. Like he, if you don't have someone to talk to stocks about, then it's boring. It's hard to do. So, anyways, he got me into this. We got talking about it. We do a ton of research together on it. We find things that are dividend paying stocks. Now, there's nothing like when Stan and I were talking about this first. You know, he said, well, we should do something about passive income. And instantly I thought of two things to me that are only true forms of passive income. And one is oil field lease rental on your property, and the other is dividends in the stock market. Both required an initial investment. Someone had to buy that land and to get that oil lease. And the stock market, no one is going to pay you a dividend for nothing. So you do have to buy the stock. But there do seem to be some generally low risk, 5 to 6 to 7% dividend paying stocks. The thing I use is Qtrade. There's a stock screener on there, and you just type in your criteria, your risk tolerance, what you expect out of it. It pops up some things, and yeah, a few of them for, you know, I mean, it's what you want to put into it, right? So if you can get 6% and you can put $100 in, you know, you're going to get $6. If you can put 10,000 in. So to me, and believe me, when this pandemic started, I watched that whole entire, you know, that dashboard number just plummet, and I thought, like, I'm too late. I'll just watch it go to nothing.
Yeah.
I'm too late to sell or anything.
Yeah.
And that was a brutal moment. And it took this 3 years basically to get back to zero, but they paid dividends the whole way through. So if those stock prices ever recover to post-pandemic numbers, I'll be that plus dividends. So those were the two that I thought right away. And, you know, both would have different tax implications along with Rule 3 there. Some of the stuff is in a TFSA, some's in an RSP, some's in a cash account. We never even looked into all that stuff because with stocks, it doesn't really matter until you sell or until you start to pull the money out. That's when you learn just, in fact, how much this didn't work.
That's true.
Right? That's when you're going to learn. And I say that because I'm starting to watch, you know, my parents and the older generations that I talk to pulling out RSPs. And there was one guy that he was talking about that, and he said he flew helicopters, but he said nowhere in the world that he ever been did they push RSPs like they do in North America. Or
He's
Canada.
here. Yeah.
And he said, what a scam on the people. Now, I don't know if it is. Maybe you got a good accountant. Maybe you got this figured out. I don't know. But from what I'm seeing, and generally the case is with inflation and with like back to this community, I'm sure most people are doing something. They obviously got a piece of land. If they're watching us, you most likely will be making good money into retirement if you do this properly. So your RSPs are never going to be, you're never going to get them out properly because you have to pay the tax on them now, but you're already making, you know, a lot. Like in some cases, people are making more in their retirement than they were in their working years.
Yeah.
Depending on, you know, if they own land, if they own stocks, if they own rental properties.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, but it's not working for a lot of people. So these safe havens that the government told you about 30 years ago, as the rules changed over the 30 years, they may or may not work. And I mean, that's with anything. You can't be scared and just, you know, dive into the pillow and say, oh, I give up, I can't.
Sure.
But it is worthwhile just thinking long term. Like, is it, you know, where am I going to be? You know, you don't want to think for tomorrow. Think long term, especially with your passive income.
It's funny because my grandparents were never. I mean, they were original homesteaders. Like we're talking, you know, they bought bare land, you know, by Rocky Mountain House, and you know, my grandpa and his brother, they ran a mule logging outfit out by Nordegg, and that's basically how they got money to get set up on their homestead and stuff. but they were very much cash in a mayonnaise jar kind of people, right? And it's doing nothing for you, right? Now, a lot of those opportunities probably weren't available to them in those years. And in the years that they were available to them, you get, the advancement of the stock market in terms of its accessibility to the general public through the 1980s and 1990s is probably right when the douchiest people were involved in the market. And it was, I mean, guys like, who's that guy, the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort.
He's heavily romanticized now. Like he's like a folk hero, but I mean, he's a cat, I tell you.
It's a
Everybody
shame
else
what we
is a mouse, and
idolize,
he's
right?
a monster, right? Like in reality, I mean, he's a complete greaseball, and I see him now on social media just laughing it up and fancy watch. He's on the boat. He's living the commercial that I was talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you dickhead, like you basically robbed tens of thousands, probably more people out of not only their current livelihood, but out of their future livelihood, right? So.
Yeah, they're idolized, and you kind of shake your head at like, okay, well, like they said, when he had line people lined up to work for him and stuff. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a gangster. He's just
Fair enough.
just an outright thief, right? So I don't know, that's greasy, but yeah. Anyway, so tax implications. It's definitely a big thing for ourselves. I mean, we're fortunate. My brother-in-law is an accountant, and I can just phone him and ask him stupid questions, and he might look at me at the corner of his eye and tell me what I already think I know. But it's good to have that, to bounce out the reaffirmation that, yeah, okay, this is a good decision, or no, this is a no-go kind of thing, right? Like we're building a barn, and so I took out, largely half of my life savings that I had sitting in stock. And okay, well, what is the tax implications of this? Well, you're going to have to pay capital gains on 50% of whatever you gained off of that stock price from what you bought it for, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then if I reinvest it back in the farm to build this barn, is that going to be like, what's that going to look like? Well, you might have to pay $700. Whew. Okay, well, if I got to pay $700 on a $60,000 barn, well, I can reconcile myself for that, right? But anyway, so tax brings me to the fourth cardinal rule, which in and of itself is called the rule of fours, right? So you break up all your income into 4 equal blocks, and you take 2 of those blocks, government, there you go, right? Whether or not the government's going to take that money, or they need that money, or whatever, reconcile yourself that 50% of what you make is going to go there, whether it's income tax, property tax, whatever it is, depending on what you're making or investing in, right? So 50% to the government, just set that aside. The third quarter, this is your maintenance money, right? This is where you're going to feed the goat. You're going to feed the meter. If you don't do that, if you don't reinvest it, it's going to be like a $2 Roman candle, right? It's just going to go pss, 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 and it's going to fizzle out, and it's going to die, and you'll find yourself really, really quickly having to find something else to milk, right? Something else to invest your initial startup money in, and it's going to go nowhere. And you'll wonder, like, why are all these get rich quick schemes? They're just going nowhere on me. And that's why, is because you're not re-injecting your winnings, your whatever you get out of it back into it. Now the fourth quarter, whatever, rent a fast car, spend it on suntan lotion, whatever you got to do, right? That's 25%. 25% of the bag, that's all you get to take home, right? That seems like a really small number, I think, for a lot of people, but that's the reality. Is 25% of what you make in passive income can go towards fast cars and suntan lotion, and the rest should be feeding, Uncle Justin and.
Well, the government one, the taxes one is big. You hear that all too often. Like, oh, this, I do cash this and cash that, and if I do this and I buy it here and I buy it there, and you know what? If you follow this bouncing ball to the end, you find out that it almost never works. We live in a world now where, and the thing is too, if it's so small and minute, it maybe works. But if you're looking at building a passive income stream, and you hope that this is going to evolve into something that is going to afford you, excesses in life, you have to understand that someone's watching, and then that 50%, you better save that, because someone's going to come knocking.
Yeah, I mean, it's whether, whether you agree with taxation law or you don't agree with taxation law. I mean, there's always going to be somebody there with their thumb on top of you. That's never going to change. Never in the history of mankind has it ever changed,
Nope.
right? Taxation is one of the oldest things, the oldest forms of extortion out there, and you got to pay the man. Uncle Paulie needs his cut, and if you don't, bad things happen, right? So how you facilitate that is between you and your accountant, but the reality is you have to be able to do that, right? Don't spend money you haven't made yet. Don't think about, okay, well, I made 50 grand this year, I can spend 50 grand. Keep in mind, there's always, because if you spend it and then the government comes and gets it, well, they're taking your boat. Like, it's gonna be a bad day on the ocean when they come and get your yacht, right? So, the fifth and final rule of passive income, and then we're gonna get into a couple of things like ways to actually generate passive income, whether it's on the farm or in other walks of life. The fifth rule is in the title, essentially. It's passive. It's passive income, right? So I see a lot of people talking about a side hustle or a side gig, and that's not passive income, right? Like the fact that you got passive income is one thing, and that's the word passive is in the title, and you got side hustle, or the word hustle is in the title. Like, they're two very distinctly different execution styles in order to generate revenue. Right? So if it's a hustle, it's definitely not passive. Now, the purpose of the passive income is it allows you, well, essentially it's going to allow you to have your cake and eat it too, right? It allows you, it gives you, okay, well, I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time on this thing. I can go do whatever my day-to-day, my 9 to 5, while this thing is working in the background, and to relatively, I wouldn't say set it and forget it, but to a certain degree, you can set it and check in on it periodically and maintain it periodically, but largely it's not going to be something that you have to sit there and watch consistently, right? So it's going to give you, both the time and the money you want to do the things that you want to, whether it's buying, that new watch, that new truck payment, or whatever it is, right? That gets you to that next, the higher level quality of life, right? Now, that's not to say that aside, I mean, I don't know, do you have any side hustles? I mean, it's not to say that they can't become passive income, right?
Yeah, well, I just when you say, like, I was thinking when weeding these stickers to put on these cups, right? I mean, so if you were to sell these cups, yeah, that's now your side hustle. But if you have stocks generating dividends in the back, that's while you're doing this, that's the difference. Something's working that you're not paying much attention to while you're actively doing something else.
So to the lay person, what's the difference in setting up a multimedia company or whatever, where I don't know what you call that, where you set up stickers and T-shirts and hats and you do stuff like that. Why is that?
Why is that not passive?
Yeah.
Well, it's like that someone's doing that work, right?
I mean, you know how much weeding was probably required to get the plastic out of the bottom of that K, right?
I have to credit the wife for that, I suppose, but I seen it.
So
I've been involved.
So there you go. Right?
I guess that could be passive if I'm not doing it.
But then you
I could just sell that.
But the reality is there's labor force behind
absolutely.
it, right?
That's the difference. Until you get to the point where you would own it, own the employee or the means of production.
Right.
Yeah. At that point,
which requires a whole lot of upfront investment.
And
stuff,
that's
right.
That's the thing. But no, yeah, that's the side hustle gig. As far as side hustles go, no, I don't have time for that. I don't think.
Yeah, and I don't either. And I think that's what a lot of folks are seeing now, and that's why the desire is there. To me, I'm a bit of a dreamer in terms of I want to believe that people are inherently busy, and therefore they want to do things in such a way that they can improve their quality of life without having to eat up much more of their valuable time, as opposed to people just wanting something for nothing. Right? Because that stuff drives me nuts. Like if you you know, if you're 19 years old and you want to be a superstar, and I mean it's not that it's impossible to do, but you know, to be able to do these things without labor, you know, without A equals B, time equals money. To me, there's some injustice in the world there.
There,
The
there,
fact that
there
that doesn't
absolutely is.
happen,
I just, when you watch guys like, and I forget the other guy's name. There's a few of these guys running around like Gary Vee, and they're especially promoting to young men. I think there's a huge following of people that truly believe if you just give $1,200 for the weekend, Monday morning your bank account is going to start to grow, regardless of, you know, just by attending this
seminar,
nonsense,
some webinar course.
you know.
Yeah, there's a whole market out there on online courses that you can take on how to generate passive income. There's literally thousands of them. I think there's, what did I see on YouTube? There's, I think 107,000 unique channels pushing passive income, right?
Wow.
So there's a lot of people trying to sell you on this thing, and they're selling you the end goal, but they're not telling you necessarily the blood, sweat, and tears that needed to get there, right? So pretty concerning that there's that many grease balls out there taking advantage of people, in terms of, you know, you send me, and it's not like send me $50 and I'll send you a copy of my ebook, and this is going to give you all the secrets you need to know to get out on the beach, right? Which, by the way, we're giving you for free because we're not complete douchebags. But you know, some of these courses, they're like, send me $800.
They are.
Send me $900.
They're
Like,
very expensive.
you know, you'd be pretty close here to a G note, and you know, Monday morning comes around and,
Well,
oh, damn, my alarm clock got up, and I got to go to work because the bill's still there.
They seem to all go down to, you know, the speaker tells you he works hard and he grinds, and you know, he's grinding and grinding and grinding, and you know, I just wonder why the audience doesn't look to themselves and be like, well, so are we. You know, like it's you know,
When a guy comes out on
it isn't
stage,
for everyone.
when a guy comes out on stage in front of, you know, 15 or 20,000 people, and he's wearing a t-shirt and jeans and a set of $9,000 Air Jordans that, I don't know why sneakers could cost that much. It just drives me wild. But you know, you're displaying excess that's outside your reality, never mind your means. Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, anyways, so side hustles. Okay, where's the difference between side hustles and a passive income stream? So side hustle can become passive income stream in terms of, if you get really good at something, there may be a time when your skill set takes you to a point where, you know, if I can use an example here, well, something like feeding chores or whatever used to take me 2 hours, but because I've streamlined my process, now I can do that in half an hour, right? And there's a bunch of different processes, any kind of input-based system you have, that when your skill set gets to a certain point, you can basically deliver 85 or 75% of the time requirement in order to execute the same, or to deliver the same product at the end of it, right? And so to a certain respect, you can still arrive at passive income, and still put it, you know, still feed the meter, still maintain, check in with it, you know, but it doesn't require you to babysit it all the time. But off the beginning, it does, right? So, but where this leads people astray is, you know, having a poor understanding of the difference between side hustles and passive income is, you know, they get 2 or 3 side hustles on the go, and side hustles are, I mean, that's a very strict A equals B, time equals money thing, right? So if one of those things is about to just unload on you and start, you know, you're about to hit cherries, or cherries, is that what it is on the one arm bandits?
Yeah,
cherries or sevens, whatever it is. You're gonna hit the jackpot anyways on this one thing. But here you got 2 or 3 other things on the go at the same time, and you're not enabling yourself to be able to go and invest the required amount of time in that one project. Look at SpaceX and Tesla. Like, talk about, like, that was about to be a major bailout project, and it was only a horseshoe that ever allowed those two companies to coexist, because he basically just took 50% of his wealth and he put it in SpaceX, 50% of his wealth and put it in Tesla, And it was only market confidence, I think, that allowed those two projects to exist. But I mean, one of them could have easily just bankrupted the other.
Oh,
He could have
absolutely.
fed a dead horse really, really easily there. And that's oftentimes what a person does is they, you know, okay, well, I got my t-shirt business and it's about to just lose it, and I'm going to become the next Vistaprint or whatever company. But you know, I also like doing custom watercolor paintings for people on the side, and that's really what I'm passionate about, and I really enjoy doing that. But I make $75 every 90 days or whatever. Like it's, you know, you got to really separate the things that you're good at and the things that you're passionate about. And if you can't, then you're gonna have to find a way to make money off the things you enjoy, right? And that's a pretty key step too. If you're stuck in a job that you don't enjoy, right? You could be making $100,000 a year at a job you don't enjoy, but be more wealthy in a job that makes you $65,000 a year that you actually enjoy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's just, I mean, I did this like in 2000, 2008, 2000, it was 2009, actually, I got out of working on the rigs, you know, from one side of the oil patch into a different side of the oil patch. And I took a $75,000 a year decrease in annual salary, but I had work-life balance, right? So that work-life balance enabled me to do so many more things in my life that I could previously, I didn't even stand a chance to do, right? I could barely get home to pay my utility bill on time, right? And so I had all these processes set up at the time to enable me to be away from home that cost me big money, right? But now the guy's home, you're able to monitor, keep your eye on things. So your quality of life doesn't cost you nearly as much just by having a physical presence and having a job that you actually enjoy, right? How's your drink doing?
Well, it's gonna need some more for sure. It's gonna need some.
How come
more
this
for
thing
sure.
keeps going out? What
I
do
don't know. I lit mine like 4 or 5 times.
I got a bad one, or
I don't know. It's
It's-
part of this lack
it's-
of knowledge and knowing what you're
it's
doing.
moist, or what is it?
And I don't know. I only got them the other day.
I'm not.
They should be pristine. They come out of.
What do they
whatever.
call a person that smokes cigars for a living, or professionally? Is there a name for those? A cigarolo, like a thing?
I don't know.
I feel like I'm smoking a joint.
I know. I was wondering too. Like, do people think these are actually cigars? They are just cigars.
How am I supposed to hold this? I'm like Ricky
I know.
Bobby. What do I do?
Well,
with
that's
my
why I got the
hands?
big ones too. I didn't know. What
If I
was
can
going
have
on.
something with that much girth in my hand, though.
But my
I
eyes
get
were
some,
watering several times
cigar
already.
envy here, and we go.
So
Oh, that's what 6 inches looks like. Okay, enough jokes. How do we make the money? We talked about how to basically what are the rules? You know, what's the nonsense? What's the bullshit in the background? How do we make the money?
now you need actual concrete ways, real things that are passive income.
So
The one I thought of instantly, you gotta go find yourself a quarter of land. If that's what you want and you don't have, you gotta swing it to buy it, and you gotta hope like hell oil company comes knocking and he builds a well. Because now you're looking 2,500 to maybe 7,000 depending on, I don't know what they're going for now, big pads and stuff. However, unfortunately, if you don't already have that land, if it wasn't inherited land or whatever, the cost of the land is probably gonna eat up your whole entire life's passive
yeah,
income.
if you don't have inherited land, so we didn't inherit this land, right? This is we bought this quarter outright. Cost us, you know, just shy of $300,000 that we'll pay for the rest of my natural life. But you know, okay, well, I hit 80 years old and I cash that check if I were to decide to do that. You know, even buying and paying a mortgage on land over 25 or 30 years, you're still gonna, okay, it's not maybe not gonna generate you revenue over that time frame in terms of like consistent payments, but the land value in 25 years is gonna more than pay for your interest, right? Land value is a finite resource, is a finite resource. Can't make any more of it. All you can do is clear more of existing forested or underused land. And land values aren't, there's gonna be some fluctuation, as you know, right? But it's, you know, the days of getting a quarter section in this country anyways, you know, or this part of the world, the days of getting a quarter section for $100,000 or bye-bye, right?
Yeah, those are gone. So, and that's the other thing too. I mean, you can. I think people too. Maybe you are generating passive income. It's just you're not realizing it for the reasons that social media has hyped passive income up to be. So you know,
Yeah,
and this is a prime example. I mean, if you have land that you're making payments on, which has an oil well on it, and all that money is going to the payment, I mean, effectively you're getting, you know, part of the land for free or whatever. So I guess it's how you want to realize your passive income. Not everything just goes to renting Lamborghinis in Vegas.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you may be you're already generating passive income, and you just, you know, you don't realize it because
Well, it's, I mean, we are here. We bought, like I said, we bought this land. There's two well sites on the land, and then they put a pipeline in last year. And granted, this is not for everybody, right? Some people are not pro oil field or pro industrial development. And whether I am or I'm not is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, when we bought the land, those assets existed here, and just one of those well sites pays our property taxes, right? So that's, you know, $3,500 or $4,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
That in tax I don't have to pay, right? So I can buy a lot of potatoes for $4,000. Right?
Well, absolutely.
Right.
Or I mean, then like I said earlier, when you think of every dollar as two, I mean that's 4,000 that you don't have to pay, so you can allocate that somewhere else now.
How many quarters of land do you farm?
I think we have 22.
22. Do you own all that? Or do you lease some of it?
Oh, my dad owns it all. I own 2 quarters that well, ATB owns 2 quarters.
But the family farm is 22.
I think I shouldn't say it's about 2,500 acres, and I think the last time I counted it was maybe 22 was the most we ever farmed with some rented land. So maybe we're at 18. I don't know, somewhere like right around there. I didn't.
See, to me, the rented land, like there's a real trend right now, and I see this on YouTube. You know, okay, well, I can buy land for $100 an acre. I can buy land for $50 an acre, and they're talking about some, I don't know, either a desert or a swamp in Western Virginia somewhere. Like it's barren land, and they've got to do excessive improvements to the land to get it. And they basically just run pigs on it, is what they do typically, and they're able to make good money on it. But to me, rented land is a generator of cash flow, right? Because I don't have this debt hanging over my head, right? So I'm still able to exercise my debt to equity ratio if I want to buy a house, or I want to buy, you know, if I want to buy my own quarter of land because I'm farming this rented quarter of land that the bank doesn't really even need to know about is for my monthly expenditures, and I can generate cash flow on that. But I still think that, you know, purchasing farmland as an investment, whether you produce that land or don't produce that land, you can never go wrong with that.
No, like my dad said, every time he was told in his life to buy land from whoever, you know, he said it was never the wrong advice. He didn't always take the advice. You know, he was working out, he was, you know, spread thin at times and things like that. But he said it never was wrong. If you can swing it at all, it's never the wrong move. Even well, it was in one of your videos where you talked about success on the farm of getting this stuff, getting it signed up. So I mean, it looks like it's a lot of money, be it a house, be it land, be it whatever, but it's never going to be cheaper than it is today. We're seeing that now, and then we're seeing exponential rises in it.
Yeah.
So if you think, well, if I just had one more year, and I mean, I thought that a lot. You know, when I bought my second quarter of land, it was at a Ritchie Brothers auction, and I thought, you know, if I just had a couple more years on the rig, you know, I could put so much more down, and I wouldn't have to stretch this out forever. But you know, those I mean, I paid $245,000 for 1 quarter, and Jesus, I wouldn't even speculate what it's worth. It's over 3 for sure.
Well, there's a few folks that think we're a little bit backwards for what we did here. When we bought the land initially, and so half the land is paid for, half the land is mortgaged, And then we built the shop. We basically used at that point in time, you know, a large portion of our savings to sink $100,000 into the land, or you know, to add equity into the land. And then we went to the bank and said, okay, I need to borrow 400. I think we asked for $450,000 to build the house. And because we had, you know, 50% of the land owned, plus we had, you know, this building, which cost us 100,000, but it increased the land value by 175K.
Yeah.
So that increased our borrowing capability. We were able to purchase and build the house. But if I would have, you know, one more summer on the rigs or whatever, if I would have waited to generate that cash till today, right? The 2x4 that was $7 is now $18.
Exactly.
Right? And so I know there's some folks that say, oh, don't borrow money. But if you make smart decisions when it comes to borrowing in terms of offsetting futures pricing, like you're basically taking a gamble and hedging on what the price of a commodity is going to be down the road. But if I would have to build that house this year, that would have been the $716,000 house that we would have talked about at the beginning of the video, right?
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a really good point, right? That you can't. It seems like everything's gonna eat up that annual income. Like you'll never get ahead of it. And I've heard lots of people, oh, you know, you can't borrow money, you can't, and it just. You know, like they got to finish that off, and they don't borrow money to buy stupid shit.
Well, you can't.
Right?
You
Like
can't
that's
say,
not the important thing.
What are we back here? We're back here 3-4 pages. What do we say here? $2.2 trillion. We can borrow money.
Yeah,
Everybody's
absolutely,
doing it.
and we are, right? You know, part of that is never before in history has so much stuff been available, right? I mean, I talked to my dad quite a bit about this. You know, and I joke quite a bit, like, so my son, he has a leap pad, and I know he's 3 years old. I say, ask Grandpa what he played with when he was 3.
Rocks and dirt.
Right, exactly. So we're, you know, we got, there's campers, there's side-by-sides, there's trips. Like my dad said, when they were in school, I mean, you know, they didn't even know where the rest of the world was on a map, couldn't even find the shit. And most of us have been there. You know what I mean? And the banks they're doling out all the money that you want. I mean, no money down, don't pay for this, don't pay for that, so the whole don't borrow thing, that is an incomplete sentence. That should be don't borrow money to buy dumb shit.
Exactly.
If you're looking to borrow money to invest and to start to build something that, you know, at some point could be on autopilot and could be passive income at some point, something you're passionate about, something you can you're willing to work to sustain and build. Unfortunately, there's probably no way around borrowing money. Like unless you're already successful, or unless you have a tremendous amount of backing somewhere.
If you look at the people that you legitimately see out there that are the super rich, they borrow money. That's how they do it, right?
Absolutely.
But they borrow money to buy things like real estate, right? They buy appreciating assets. They don't buy depreciating liabilities, right? They're not going to buy cars. They're actually probably not going to buy. Most of them don't even own their own house, right? Because they own. Okay, well, I buy a house, and the house costs me. If we're talking about super rich, some of them, you know, $1 million house, whatever, right? Why do I need $1 million bed? Why do I need $1 million place just to sleep, right? So most of them don't, right? They rent or they lease or whatever, and they don't have that debt hanging over their head, or they don't have the $1 million tied up in some building that's not generating them any kind of revenue. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, no, you don't need to be scared of borrowing money if you're actually borrowing money to, in turn, that you're able to service that debt with the investment that you're making, right? If I'm borrowing money to start a company, or I'm borrowing money to get rental property that's going to then pay for itself and perhaps exceed the payments for itself, that's the golden ticket, right? So now, and we talked about Googling, right? So because this is where the fact checkers come in. So what I Google and what you Google might be different. What the folks on the phone might Google might be slightly different. But when I Googled, you know, ways to generate passive income, I literally just put that into Google, ways to generate passive income. The number one hit that came up was Airbnb, right? So myself personally, historically, you know, I had a job where I worked away from home. I worked a 21/7 shift on the rigs. And so 3 weeks, my house sat empty. And then for 7 days, I'd come back and I'd turn it into a pigsty. And then the last day, I'd have to clean up, and then on the plane or on the bus or whatever, back to work, right? Actually, I never took the bus. I never took the plane. This is where I'm stupid, because for years I was driving a $50,000 pickup back and forth to a work that I didn't need, right? Why do you need that?
Had to have it.
Right.
Everyone else had one.
Everyone else had to have one, right? And thank God diesel at the rig was cheap. So, but if you've got extra space in your home, and this is something I casually mentioned to my wife the other day, because when we start talking about doing this, I was like, I'm gonna pitch this one across the bow and just see what she says. And I'm like, I said, what do you think about glamping? And she's like, oh, like, you know, like we go glamping, like we go somewhere like nice and we set up a tent or a camp. Like, what are you getting at here? And I'm like, no, like, I mean, like actually hosting people at the farm here. And the look in her face, like she's not drinking that cup of tea. She's just like, no, like you gotta have like a gorgeous view, and you gotta have like set up, like nobody's gonna pay you to come park beside the dugout. And you know, against selling the dream, there's literally dozens of YouTube videos about this that, you know, they show glamping spots, and there's just a cow shit covered field, and people are pitching a tent and they're paying $50 a night. And so it's not that it's impossible, right? And I'm like, well, maybe we could, like, could we explore this? Like, okay, well, let's do a weekend camping retreat. They come out, they park by the dugout. I bring them some fresh water so they don't have to get beaver fever or anything like that. You know, on a Saturday morning, they could come have the whole farm experience, and we walk around, we collect eggs, and we do the chores that I'd usually give to Charlotte, who's our 3-year-old daughter. Like, you know, just the basic generic things. Okay, it's fun and it's light, and it's not like they're out here when it's 40 below and get frostbite and live in the brutal side of farming, but they can maybe live the lighter side and put some pictures on Instagram or whatever they're gonna do. And some folks they're paying $50 a night. You know, you have 2 camping spots, and you know, you get $200 in a weekend pretty easily. You know, that's pretty passive income.
And free work.
Right. You get a little bit of free labor. You know, you gotta deal with some people that maybe have a different understanding of the world, which could be challenging at times, right? But then I also got thinking, okay, well, I know a lot of people that live in the city that really don't want to live in the city, right? But their concern is, okay, can I carry a second mortgage? Okay, well, maybe I can turn my current property into a rental property, and then carry a second mortgage, right? So I can live in the country, carry this rental property. Well, if you have a property manager, it's probably the most passive income you can have, right?
Yeah.
You've got all your payments are electronic, they all come in and out, and it kind of manages itself. But you've got a middleman in there again that's skimming, right? That's passive income for him, because he just basically makes sure the rent payment is made on time and the pipes don't leak, kind of thing. But if you're able to do a little bit of self-management, like the average house in Grand Prairie, what did I write down here? Like the average house in Grand Prairie rents out for like $1,800 a month, right? And that's, I mean, there's more, there's ones that are lower than that, but that's $60 a night, right? So if I rent my house, say it's close to the airport or something like that, strategically placed in the downtown core or whatever, and it's accessible, I can list that house on Airbnb for $150 a night, which is more than the average hotel. But why wouldn't it be? You're getting the whole house.
Yeah.
You're not getting a shitty hotel room where you get screaming kids at 2 in the morning, or people jumping up and down the hallways, or crackheads roaming around the parking lot, scoping your stuff, right? You can charge $150 a night. So now if I keep guests in there for 14 days of the month, right? Say I'm working away from home, I'm working at 2 and 2, and I want to keep people in there while I'm away, or maybe I'm living remotely and this is my secondary property. At $150 a night, that's $2,100. And I don't have consistent renters in my house who, let's be honest, if you have most tenants, if you have them in there for a long period of time, give you headaches, right? The dream renter that you give the damage deposit back to, and you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry to see you go. That person's a unicorn, right? The average person you're dealing with leaves you 87 pounds of dog shit on your lawn, cracked drywall, a leaky tap, and a broken window, and you know, so there's other options out there if you're able to, so short of being a real estate agent and basically skimming 7% off the top of everybody's home sales, that's, if you can be your own property manager, that's a pretty decent way. But it requires, again, we talked about that earlier, like what's passive and what's effort, and that's one that requires a little bit more effort. But as far as actual workload is it's pretty passive, right?
Yeah, it absolutely would be. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, specific to me, that would be something that would be so far down the list of things to try. I mean, I could do a lot. I would think of a lot of other things to do before I bought a duplex, and hoped to heck that some decent people moved in that knew not to wash cinder blocks in the washing machine. Or what, whatever. Like you just. Yeah. I'm more into, I guess maybe stuff that doesn't involve my fellow humans.
People management. Anytime there's people, you got to have a process to manage them, right? That's really coming to a challenge, right? So, another one I got down here, and this is there's kind of 2 for 1, right? Not everybody's an English major, so this isn't for everybody. But more and more, we're seeing people coming back to their roots. They want to get out of the city. They want to get out of their cubicle, and they want to get to a more rural lifestyle, whether that's increased acreage or people actively buying farmland and trying to establish, let's just sell our life savings for 6 goats and a chicken or whatever, right? Coming back to the countryside, and the biggest obstacle they have is a knowledge gap, right? Now, is there something we can do to be useful to those people that can generate revenue? So we mentioned earlier, there's all kinds of stuff out there about selling courses on how to generate passive income. But can I write a book, or can I write an online course and deliver it to people on how to keep chickens or animal husbandry when it comes to small ruminants, or pasture management for rotational grazing? All day long, a guy can do that, right? If you know what you're talking about, you got to know what you're talking about. You can't bullshit people, because they will fact check you on Google.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, you're going to find out if it works too, right? Because
they'll cross-reference you with Joel Salatin.
When everything's dead on Friday and they started Monday because they followed your book, they'll know right away that guy.
So you got to be on. But if you have the skill set and you have the ability, whether you self-publish or you go through a publishing company, there's definitely an opportunity, and there's a huge market there, right? So there's definitely, to me, there's been a renaissance in agriculture, and I think.
Well, I see it a lot, like selling the livestock feed. Like, there is a what do you call it? A massive migration to the rural areas. Like, I mean, people are scooping up whatever they can, 10 acres, 5 acres, 100 acres. They're getting out of the city. They're getting away from. I mean, lots of it recently had to do with getting away from the lockdowns, getting some space to spread their legs or whatever. And there absolutely is a huge amount of people who are looking for answers to questions. So that definitely is. Well, in this time in history, it would be an excellent thing for somebody to do. Yeah. Specific to your area.
Well, and I see lots on whether it's social media or through YouTube or any of those broadcasting platforms. There's people that are asking, okay, well, if I want to get 5 acres, how many cows can I keep on 5 acres? How many cows can I keep on an acre? How many sheep can I keep on this? And how much feed does a horse eat? And which, by the way, if you're a small farmer and then you're trying to get into homesteading and feeding yourself and passive income is your goal, the horse is probably the opposite of passive income.
Yeah.
So we have, what do we got here? We got 3 there's 3 horses that live on the farm here and a donkey, a miniature donkey. So I have a rule of thumb for any animals that I purchase, and that's that it cannot live without generating income. So able to reconcile myself with the donkey, because I mean it can be a livestock guardian of sorts, right?
You're a guard donkey.
Right, the old guard donkey. If nothing else, it's funny to listen to because it makes all the weird noises, right? But yeah, so hay burners galore. I mean, you never look a gift horse in the mouth, but the reality is that it's going to cost you money to maintain it. It's going to cost you. It's just buy a quad, right? Thing's going to need gas every time you run it.
But it listens.
But it runs when you need it to run largely, and doesn't cost you anything when it's parked in the shop. So that's the kind of the opposite of the horse, right? But yeah, so okay. Well, what else is on the list? I don't know.
Well, we got we had this.
What about what we're doing right now? YouTube channel.
YouTube channels, yeah. Well,
I mean, there's guys. What's his name? Al Lumna. I think he's making $200K a year off of YouTube.
oh Christ, yeah. Well,
PewDiePie, what's he? He's like $2.3 million a year, something like that.
Yeah, well, the kids started watching even that Ryan's World or whatever. Apparently that little guy, he's generating some fairly fat paychecks himself.
So really, all you got to do is get yourself a GoPro, or not even get a GoPro. You have a GoPro. It doesn't work very well. It's cold, right? But
I don't use it
if you got anything with a camera that has the ability to broadcast, and you just film the most mundane shit that you do in a day, you'd be surprised what people watch. And I don't think that's what either one of us are trying to do, but I mean, you can literally play video games and film yourself playing video games and add some commentary to it.
Absolutely.
And there's a niche for that. There's a crowd for that, right? And for us here, I mean, we're not generating primary revenue or direct revenue off the YouTube channel, but I think every one of our customers that comes and buys lamb or comes and buys pork or buys eggs every week or whatever is a viewer of that, because there's a select group of people that are dialed in and do want to know where their food comes from, and that's really what we're marketing to, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I use it like you had said it's basically free advertising. You put a lot out there. People are curious where things come from. You know what it takes to do this in a day. You can add. You know, you're adding content every few days, so it's up to date.
Yeah. I mean, if I want to sell, okay, I got 50 chickens in the chicken house, which, by the way, because it's 35 below outside right now, they're on Mexican vacation right now. You would never know it in there because it's.
Your egg production has declined?
It has declined, and the reason it's declined is because when we get to 30 below, or 25 below is usually the rule of thumb for me, 25 to 30 below, I'll close the hatch on the door and I'll keep them confined. And we have a compost pile in the chicken house, and that helps to heat the chicken house, and there's a whole process behind that, and that's how we don't get frostbite in our chickens, and we don't freeze the eggs that we do get. But during those extreme weather events, we do see a decline in production, right? But we don't lose any birds, right? Or I see a lot of people now, I bought a chicken house from PV Mart, and it cost me $1,800, and the thing's made out of, the same shit the plywood this table is made out of, and it's got the R value, it's negative R value, right? And I'm talking about deep litter, and people are, how does that work? And I got this, 4x4 chicken coop, and it's on a different scale, right?
Yeah, they were unprepared, those folks. They were definitely unprepared for winter.
Yeah, so,
chickens.
I'd never advocate for folks to run heat lamps and things like that, but some of the stuff that I'm pitching in our channel is specifically geared towards our operation. I'm not really necessarily saying everybody should do it, but I'm saying if you're configured similarly, if you live in the same place in the world, this may or may not work for you, right? I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. It's just, this is what we're doing. And as a result of that, a lot of folks come to us and say, hey, when you're butchering sheep this fall, put my name on the list, or, hey, do you have spare eggs? I can take 4 or 5 dozen a week kind of thing, right? And so So that's a big secondary generator of revenue, and I don't know if you notice that with your channel at all or not, but
Yeah, I get a lot of. I guess a lot of people. When it seems to be the way people search now, right? You know, you say they Google this or whatever, and when you Google it, where does it bring you? It brings you to a YouTube channel or it brings you to something. So people that, you know, well, the molasses was a big one. People that are looking for alternative feed sources for their animals this winter, when they start to Google this, the YouTube channel pops up. So you are able to get a further reach than, you know, just a sign at the highway.
which I seen that the other day just outside Hythe. That thing's looking pretty sharp, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's, you know, the new shift is online, right? The new
Yeah.
shift is definitely online. So I don't know. I guess I'll have to do a poll.
To see who saw the sign. Make a
Saw
song
the
about
sign,
that.
exactly,
I
yeah.
saw the sign.
Exactly.
What was that? Ace of Base?
It was.
Maybe not the greatest song of all time.
No, it's a
but
pretty good song,
It's
though.
a pretty good song. Yeah, it takes me back. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, yeah, YouTube channels. I mean, this is the thing. Like,
But these are tough too. Like I never even looked into what it takes to generate revenue from YouTube. But I mean, it's not
a lot.
easy.
No, it's what it
Like
is.
you got to have good content. You got to have good editing. You got to, I don't know. You got to get this. You got to get it out there and catch the right wave.
You ever go back and watch your old videos?
Oh yeah.
Why do you do that?
Well, I scroll down the list to see how many there is, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't actually watch them over again, but you know, I cringe certainly for the first few.
And that's me too. Like, I mean, I've had that question a few times. Like, well, do you ever watch your own videos? Like some people like you're a narcissistic piece of shit.
I was called that actually.
Right.
I was.
You know,
and I was called that exact thing.
Really.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody has a cross to bear, I suppose. But
Christ.
you know, no, I'll go back because it pops up on. I gotta share everything on our Facebook page. Every YouTube video goes on our Facebook page because not everybody's on YouTube and not everybody's Google account or whatever. But this gives them another option to view it. So I get a reminder every day. Hey, a year ago, this is a video I put out. And I'm like,
okay.
oh, okay. Well, where were we a year ago? What were we struggling with? What were the challenges? What was my solution? In the last year, have I learned anything new that either negates or I've improved upon my solution for that? Or like you said, how shitty were my video editing skills? You know, when I look back at I got like 520 videos out now, which for all intents and purposes by the YouTube industry, I mean, I should be making $100,000 a year off YouTube. I should, but I'm not. I'm not making.
I know
anything.
you just gotta make 2 or 3 playing Nintendo.
You gotta ring the bell somehow. But anyways, so the first 100 videos, I go back and I'm like, I don't know why anybody would watch this. This is, I mean, the intent was there, the message was there, but the delivery was really weak, right? And so, in order to improve my product, improve my marketing skills, I got to go back and I got to look at that stuff and say, you know, okay, well, how can I get better at that, right? And so, hence, this is what we're doing. We're taking it to the next level today.
We are, yeah.
So
This is the maiden voyage.
but I mean, so here's the thing with passive income. I'm never gonna go in the house when we're down here or next week or whatever. I lose my job. I'm never gonna go, and hopefully I don't. Right? That's knock on wood. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm never gonna go in the house and say to the wife or say to my kids like, "Sorry, kids, we're not going to the park today because or we're not gonna go do this today because Daddy didn't make enough YouTube videos." You know, that's never gonna be the thing. That it is totally a secondary source. In some cases, tertiary source of passive income, right? Because there's an educational concept to it. There's an advertising concept to it. But I would advocate for anybody that's running a small farm with the intent of marketing to a niche market or niche crowd to sell eggs, meat, dairy, any of that stuff. Whether they do it via YouTube or they do it via Facebook or so in some way, shape, or form, they've got to sell the dream, right? So I go in the chicken house. I got 50 chickens in there, free range. They got a run of 143 acres, and they're free range. They're organic. Okay, well, why should I buy those eggs for $7? Which we're not selling for $7. I mean, some people are, and if you're able to get $7 for your chickens, that's fantastic, and I'm really proud of you. But I think we sell for like $4 or $5, depending on the volume of it is. But if you want a higher price for your product, you've got to tell people why.
Absolutely.
Right? If I can go to the if I don't know any better, and I go to the grocery store and I see one product for $7, and it says on the carton, it says eggs, and I get the other product and it's $2.50, and it also says eggs, what's the decision I'm going to make?
Yeah, exactly, right? So
Right.
it's $2 for eggs today.
So, I guess I'm having $2 eggs today, right? So I think largely as a society, people have lost, and this happened years ago. This happened post Second World War. People lost responsibility for their own food supply network, right? So now, if we want to talk about why, then we have a responsibility as a producer to market it, right? If you want beef from Argentina or lamb from New Zealand or whatever, that's $1.50 less a pound, sure. But I mean, it's not as humane. It's got a million. If we're talking about making a difference in the world, how many carbon miles does it have on it? So if you can get that message out there to people, I think the conscientious consumer, when they realize what that is actually doing,
Yeah.
will pay the price.
Oh,
They will, if they understand it, right? There's still going to be the odd person that's going to be like, eggs are $2 today, but don't worry about that person, because you weren't selling to them before, and you're not going to sell to them next week, and you're not going to sell them to the week after. But the average person that's thinking, and they're dialed in and they're switched on, all they need to know is why, essentially, right? So, anyways, that's YouTube out of the way. How much effort is required to get all this stuff done in a day? We're talking about passive income, but to me, if I don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like I'm usually 5:30. If I'm to be honest with the crowd, it's not 5. 5 is my summertime hours.
You do get up too early.
Because I got to move chicken tractors in the summertime. But in the wintertime, because I gotta fork some hay over, I'm usually 5:30. But I mean, if you're not getting up at 5:30 in the morning and just crushing it, what are you even doing with your life, right? And there's lots of nights out here where typically my wife gets off work, we have supper, we put Charlotte to bed, and then I'll come out and do chores, or I'll come out and work on a project in the shop. And there's times I think my wife wonders, like, what the hell is he doing out there, right? But I'm trying to work on stuff now when it's cold, because when it's time to execute on that project, right, all the accessory stuff has to work, right?
It does, yeah.
And you see that lots with any type of agricultural based guys. Like, okay, well, I got to fix my hay bine in September so that when I go to pull it out of the shed next June, end of June, those blades are good, the belts are good, PTO's good, all that stuff's good to go, right? I can just hook onto it, grease it, and go, kind of thing, right? And so the hard work piece is critical to me, to pass the success of passive income. When it comes to startup of passive income, the hard work piece is 100% critical. And I think largely, if we look at, correct me if you think differently here, but when you look at the social media imagery of, had to do nothing, but I'm living the dream, and I got this yacht, and I got these girls in a bikini, and I got this diamond watch, and I got shit all in my teeth, and whatever that,
Oh yeah.
you know what the kids are
yeah.
doing, right? And then I don't even know where I was going with that one, but yeah. To me, if you want to be lazy and you want to sit on the beach in Mexico, you're gonna have to live very selfishly. The amount of people that actually are able to execute for very little input to a high amount of output is next to zero.
Yeah.
There's a few people that have got by on raw talent that haven't had to have a lot of input. But those people are they're an anomaly. Right?
Well, that's it, right? They are always the exception to the rule, but
Yeah. They're either an anomaly in terms of they've got skill or talent that the rest of the population doesn't have, or they're they're a giant asshole, basically. They're guys like the Jordan
Yeah.
Belforts of the world that, they made their bag by
They get a following by like
robbing
value.
people. Shock value, yeah. I mean, what's just that media companies out there, for the first 10 years of their existence, they were out there handing cheeseburgers out to homeless people, to get likes on Facebook
Yeah.
or whatever, and just being this the douchiest shit you can find on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, to me that drives me wild. But they somehow have gleaned a following and get paid because they're able to inject advertising in some way, shape, or form, and associate their name with stuff. And I don't know, to me, it might be income, but it's dishonorable income, anyways. So I don't know. If you want to be lazy, there's ways to make money being lazy, right? If you want to. Well now, what is the unemployment rate right now? 7%?
Oh, I have not watched the news.
I think that's what I heard on the radio this morning, right? It's 7%. There was 55,000 new jobs created here this last month. So there's not that there's not work out there, right? But there's also a culture of dependence. There's also a culture of getting things for very little effort, which is it's a dangerous and slippery slope, right? So, to me, you want to be lazy, you can still get your ass out of bed and go to the mall and work up a piece of shit job for 40 grand a year and make more than you can, be pretty passive, right? Like I think what I had in my notes here, like, yeah, you can be the security guard at the mall for $42,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
Scanning phones and checking IDs and whatnot. Like you're basically a garbage human being. But I think for the crowd on the sorry, that was my outside voice. But for the crowd that's watching that we're pitching this to,
they're on board, I'm sure.
We're probably on the same page. And I mean, if you're looking to, okay, well, I'm in a pickle and I need to generate $42,000 a year, you probably have better luck setting up an online store and selling, rural based decor, signs, things like cups, mugs, which there's overhead attached to that, and there is, I mean, as you well know, there's some effort attached to it, but you go to the farmer's market and you can sell that stuff quite easily, right? If that's your huckleberry, that's what you want to do, right? So what does it take to be successful? And this is closing in on towards the end of my notes. I don't know if you have more you want to say on the subject, but success to me is 85% showing up, right? Like if I just showed up for work, I'm going to get my base salary. If I actually do my job and what's expected of me, I'm probably going to get, a median level performance bonus. And if I put in 5%, the 5%, right, I can get a promotion or I can get a high bonus, right? So 85% just showing up, just getting out of bed and just being there physically, 10% actually doing your job, and 5% putting in hard work. Now, to the person that actually does hard work, it's probably going to feel like it was 85% hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is a funny story. This is what a lazy piece of shit I am, right? So, 15 years ago, I don't know. I don't even know. It could be the other day, right? That's not the point. I did a 2-week relief hitch on a drilling rig, and working outside of Grand Cache, and I literally packed an empty 5-gallon pail and a scrub brush around for 2 weeks. And every time I pass somebody, I got my bucket, I got my brush. Oh, I'm just working hard.
That's passive income.
That's passive income, right? That's just showing up. It's not even doing your job, and you're getting paid, right? So there's reasons why I was there and why I did that, but that's another story for another day. But my point is that with minimal effort, you can actually get there if you just show up. And so largely, if you're willing to take a little bit of risk and just put yourself out there, chances are you'll make some money, right? So if you look at the benefits, the compensation, the opportunities for employees, you compare what annual salaries are for your low performers versus your high performers, you're going to see that the average low performer is still within 15% of the high performer, right? So nobody has an excuse to sit on their thumb and not do anything, right? The whole CERB check thing, I mean, that's real passive income, but,
That was
you know,
passive income.
that's to me is, that's probably not the conversation I wanna have 2 or 3 rums in, 'cause
No, that's gonna be, well, it'd be for another one though. It'll absolutely be for another one.
yeah, so, anyway, so that, I don't know,
That's-
that's pretty much the end of my,
That's,
that's the end of my
we
notes,
got
that's
through
the
the
end of my book.
notebook.
I hope folks found that part useful. I mean, I would open it up now, if we must still have some folks,
There's gotta be someone,
On,
someone
uh,
should have tuned in by, like,
if, I'm sure
we probably lost a few.
I'm sure we missed a whole bunch of questions that came in, so.
I wasn't paying attention for the longest time.
No, we were
It was
just,
too far away.
chatting, having fun. I turned the heater off in the shop here because it's quite loud, so I don't know if anybody noticed, but I've actually been like,
I know, I was
been like
huddled up too.
kind
more
of
and more.
shivering, you know, the industrial strength ice that I have going on here is pretty chilly. But if anybody has any questions, you know,
And we'll definitely scroll back through them. I'm sure you can do that after.
yeah, any question that was left on the video, there would be no question left behind, for sure.
Absolutely not. And this ain't gonna be a one and done. I fully expect to be in the shop again with some more rums.
So
But,
here's the request I have. I don't know. I gotta actually look up close. How many people do we have online? I got 13 here. How many do you got on your channel? 15? 12?
13.
Here's the request for the folks that are watching this right now. And maybe you didn't get all of this because you didn't tune in right at 8 o'clock or whatever. That's fine. What are we at now?
10.
10. So appreciate everybody for giving up, you know, a couple hours of their Friday night. Obviously, your time is very, very valuable, and I mean, we spoke to that for sure during this, and hopefully you found some value in what we're doing, and the subject that we're speaking to here. But if you could do a couple things for me, go back, watch the video, like the video. If you're not already subscribed to Kirkfell Farm and Bloom Enterprises, please do that. We both also have farm-based Facebook pages that speak to the different ventures that we're working on at any given time. So highly recommend checking out our Facebook pages. But we have to recognize the fact that this, I mean, we spoke to, I don't know how many people tonight, it was really hard to kind of keep track of that, but it's fair to say that we did not speak to the greater crowd that needs to hear this message.
Absolutely not.
Right?
No.
So if there's, I mean, it'll probably take a couple hours by the time this uploads, right? So tomorrow morning, come in, check on our YouTube channels, and these videos will be fully uploaded. And please share it. Please share it on your social media page, whatever's, get that message out there to people that you think would find value in it, or people that, you know, maybe they're struggling with income, maybe they're looking to move out of the city and get into homesteading or living a more rural lifetime. Maybe they're looking at ways to generate revenue while they're still having some work-life balance. You know, there's tons of people out there that are like that I assume that we did not have the ability to reach just by being live. And so if you could share that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And like I said, if there's questions, if there's comments, if you think we're off base, if we said anything out of pocket that you really don't agree with,
Criticism is appreciated.
I welcome the criticism.
And if anybody has another topic, I mean, I'm gonna be down to do this. I mean, really as often as we can. I mean, they don't always have to be.
Yeah, they don't have to be 2 hours long.
Don't have to be 2 hours long. They don't have to
you
be all that serious. But if someone wants to tune in for a drink and a cigar, you got a topic you want to talk about, we'll figure this out next time. We're gonna find out a way to get the comments a little closer, because I can't. Yeah, see, that popped up.
Glenn Gillis. I honestly, Glenn, if you haven't tuned out now, I genuinely appreciate Glenn. I mean,
Glenn is a trooper.
He comments on just about every single YouTube video that I put out. I don't know if he comments on yours or not. Been a huge advocate for our YouTube channel, and asks some very high value questions. Gives a lot of good feedback. I mean, early on when I started doing this, he said, "I've seen enough of your shop roof." Because it was when I talk about those early on videos, I had to learn some things about presentation, and that was exactly it. Because I'm a tall guy and I hold my phone down here.
For sure.
Everybody sees that my shop roof is done beautifully, by the way. is that there's a whole story behind my shop roof. So, 2000, I think it was 2015, my brother-in-law built a very similar building to this one. His was a bit bigger, it was 60 by 40. And being cheap as we are, he had a framing crew come in, do the framing, they tin the outside, and we thought, okay, well, we'll tin the, we'll insulate and tin the inside. And so a couple of us were on genie lifts and we're trying to hold these big 16-foot sheets of tin up there. And if you look at it, like if you actually took the time to look at his roof right now, you'd be like, is there a retarded blind man do this? Or like, what happened there? So you fast forward now to, it was 2017, late 2017, I think, when we built the shop here. And the guy said, well, what do you want? Like, do you want it fully insulated? Do you want all your electrical run? Do you want plumbing, concrete, all that stuff? And I'm like, give me the framing, give me the shell, and do the roof. Because I can do the walls and you're only as good as the free labor you get, right? And
Some of this stuff you don't want to tackle as an amateur, for sure.
So-
Especially if you're going to live with it every day.
So for as much shit as Glenn kind of, jokingly give me about seeing my roof, I'm actually kind of proud of my roof because it looks.
That was by
good.
design.
Looks pretty good, yeah.
Subliminal.
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
show my roof.
So I gotta say, raise a cup of tea to you there. I appreciate the feedback and constructive criticism to get better. So
Absolutely. Well, I think to everybody that's stuck with us, we do appreciate that. We do recognize it on small channels. The comments, the likes, and when you share it, it means quite a bit. So thank you all for staying with us. And yeah, if you want to share the video around, that would be appreciated. And if you have any ideas for topics going forward, let Stan know, let myself know. We'll get set up and we'll do it again.
yeah,
Perfect.
perfect.
All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Everybody. Signing off.